Hello and welcome to the first video podcast of Musica Dispersa. We want to do video podcast in this year. We are in Donation's project in Bilbao and Labu with us today here in Musica Dispersa. Experimental artist Labu, how are your feelings?
Brutal.
And Donations?
Super brutal. Very happy. I'm honored to be here and to be part of this project.
We are in an amazing place, Donations.
Yeah, Donations project is the most
Bilbao.
brutal project ever.
And we were doing a lot of things here. We had an event and we have today this interview. Maybe for the beginning, Labu can tell us about your background, how you get into the world of experimental music, performance and everything.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Makuriye'nte. I use its pronouns. I'm currently the artist in residence here at Donations Project in Bilbao, País Vasco. I've been here all winter. My creative journey started when I was maybe 4 years old.
Wow, okay, so...
I was 4 years old because my family is from the Philippines and we're Kapampangan. And my mom's side of the family, they were all farmers, and so was my dad's side of the family. And we took care of sheep and cows and chickens and harvested rice. And my family's village is in San Simon, San Fernando, Pampanga. All Spanish names because the Spanish were there for 400 years. But basically my family were freedom fighters during World War II when the Japanese occupied my family's village, and actually my grandpa's brothers were murdered by the Japanese. And then a lot of my family left the Philippines and moved to California in the United States because Mount Pinatubo erupted in our village. And it was dormant for 500 years, but the US military created a military base there, and they were testing nuclear weapons, and the volcano erupted after being dormant for 400 years. So it wiped out my family's farm, house, the village, everything. So my family all had to leave and find work elsewhere, and they all decided to migrate to the United States, where I was born.
So this all what happened when you are a small...
I wasn't born yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet, but my family, they all moved, and that's how my family ended up in California, specifically in Los Angeles in the Bay Area. So the story of how I started music, though, was all my family, they're all janitors or like cooking chefs or, working like, the job that they could. But every weekend we would have a fiesta. We would go to one of my aunt's house, my tita's house, and we would have karaoke. We would have lots of karaoke, and we would cook a lot of Filipino food. And at the age of 4 years old, my family put a mic in my hand, and I started singing.
I see. And it's true that you using a lot your voice, no? In your performance, your music, you use your voice a lot.
Yeah.
So that came from that time. Wow.
Yeah, so my family was always singing, like my grandpa was always singing Frank Sinatra, and then my father was always singing Guns N' Roses and Rolling Stones, and
music was around.
Music was around, and I was encouraged from a very young age to sing and perform, and I think that gave me the confidence to start. And then I grew up between the Bay Area and Los Angeles, and then I got really integrated into the underground queer and trans experimental scene in Los Angeles. I would go to warehouses and raves and go to this punk house called Church of Fun, which was like a collective where a bunch of punks in LA would come together and perform, and I saw projects like Zena Zerner.
So you get easily connected with all that scenes there it was easy?
Yeah. I mean,
Los Angeles is a city that is crazy about art all around, and everything. No?
Yeah, especially in Los Angeles, where there's a lot. The LAPD is crazy. It's hard to survive there, so you have to kind of find your people. And I had a lot of friends who were artists and musicians, and we would go out, after work, and we'd go to raves and punk and noise shows, and I would see Fuck You Pay Us, which is like a trans and black punk band that was really inspiring for me. I saw Zena Zerner. They're like an industrial, dark, experimental, queer duo. They were amazing, and
Wow.
yeah,
So you get feel like connected with all that scenes, and probably that is what gives you to start to, like you want to
yes.
express yourself, to do these
Yeah,
things,
definitely. And I saw this other project, Zena Zerner and Moira Scar. So they did they had masks on and like crazy costumes, and they were doing like jazz and noise and everything. And then I was also organizing with a lot of Filipino migrants, um, and working with a lot of elders to make sure that they would have the rights that they would need living in Los Angeles, migrating, because a lot of my family were migrants. And there's a huge punk scene in the Philippines, and I was like looking for Filipino American punk bands, and there's this record label called Aclasan Records, which is the only US Filipino record label. And I went on their YouTube to look up some bands, and I saw this band called Drama, which is a queer Pinay band, and the lead singer is Monica Ramos, and they were bald, and I was like, oh my god, I want to start a punk band. And then I started one of my projects called Fatality, and then I started performing in the experimental scene.
And what year was that, more or less, around when you started?
I think that was like 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was like, a few years ago. And before Married Fatality, I only had an acoustic guitar because that's all I could afford,
Cool.
And I would just do talent shows and spoken word. But then as I got integrated into the experimental scene, people would be like, oh, you should take my guitar, or take this distortion pedal, or try out my mixer.
That is great. So it's like seeing that everyone was sharing everything with everybody.
Yes.
Cool.
And that's kind of how I started. And then I started Married Fatality with my bandmate Summer, and we, the COVID happened, and we were living in LA, and I lost my job, lost my house. There was no jobs anywhere. I couldn't live anywhere. I moved to the middle of the desert and lived on a boat in a shipping container. Yeah,
I really a hard time at trying to think, what to do next, how to.
Totally. And I think when there was no food in the stores, and everybody was leaving the city, and I was protesting every day, getting tear gassed and bombed by the police, and it was the height of the pandemic riots with George Floyd and everything. I was just what am I gonna do next? So then Mirrored Fatality took an artist residency in Wisconsin, and we moved to a farm and farmed there, and we had a small studio and made our first EP, and that's kind of what started my journey into really loving performance and experimental music.
It was a long and hard way to get here, get through many things, but also through many also interesting things, and met a lot of great artists, I believe, there, no?
Yeah, totally.
So then how you start to get for your equipment to make music, you first going through the guitar and this thing, no? And then to the synths and that kind of more. You remember probably your first synth or your first you say wow, I get in crazy sounds here, no?
Yes, of course, So I only had an acoustic guitar because that's all I could afford. And then when I was actually part of the radio station. I was part of the KPFK and UCLA radio, so there was always people with different equipment, and then I tried out the electric guitar. And then I saved up some money to get a MPK AKI synth, just the one that you can connect to a MIDI. And my friend gave me Logic Pro for free on my laptop, and then I started finding out the sounds on the drum pad, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And then I started with that. And then what's really cool about LA, and I've also lived in New York, there's a synth library called the Feminist Synth Library and the NYC Synth Lab, and they had the Make Noise synths, they had drum machines. So it's a library, and I would borrow the synths for 2 weeks and practice with it.
Wow, that sounds so interesting. Didn't see anything like that. Wow. So you can get that a few days, try at home.
Yes, I would have the equipment for 2 to 3 weeks, and then I would just record all the sounds that I could get when I had the equipment for that time, and I would learn a lot, and that's kind of what started. And I think, so I started with the guitar, and then I had a guitar Zoom pedal, and then the MPI Mini, and then just my vocals dry out of my wet, with the effects on my mixer. And then Madeline Falcone and Carmina Escobar. They're like experimental, a cellist and an extreme vocalist in LA. And they saw Married Fatality perform at Outsider Fest in Austin, Texas, which is a transmedia queer festival. And they were like, email me, I want to commission your project to do a performance in Los Angeles. And they gave me some, money to invest in my art. And then I got the Make Noise synths. And then I started investing in some pedals. And then my really good brother, Basic, who's based in Los Angeles, was like, I want a drum machine. And then he was like, what drum machine should I get? And he saw me perform. He was like, you need to get the Drum Brute Arturia because it has built-in distortion.
I'm going for the noise shit.
And then I also went on tour in London with Tour de Moon. And there was a mobile recording studio that was part of this caravan that we did. So I was on tour with like 13 other musicians, and we traveled to all these different cities in the United Kingdom. And the recording studio had like Moog synths, and I tried that out, and I was like, wow, I really love this. So that's kind of like what made music more experimental and electronic.
Okay, and that is the moment you say like you start to do a first tour, and from that time you do a lot of touring, no? With your first you did a lot of collaboration, no? With other artists, your project also, and then started to tour, and you have toured a lot, a lot.
Yeah, in LA, like.
And you know what is that kind of touring in the van and for a lot of days, no, traveling many cities, no?
Yeah, it was crazy. So like when the pandemic started, that was 2019. It's January 1st, 2025, so it's the first day of 2025. I haven't lived in the same place for more than 3 months. I've been on the road for about 5 or 6 years now, just touring.
Wow.
Yeah, I have.
It's that never ending tour.
Yeah, I've lived out of my suitcase in my backpack for 5 or 6 years, just making art and music. And before the pandemic, like Married Fatality toured across California, and then after the pandemic, through that project, toured through like the United Kingdom and Spain and through Asia and all across the United States. Like I toured with this project Hide and Come Grow Aid, and did a bunch. It was all DIY as well. So
and normally you were touring with Mirror Fatality, but especially more with that, no? With the,
that was a project that I focused on the most for the past 3 to 4 years. Because my bandmate and I, Summer, we shared a van and we lived out of it, and we would just tour really hard and just meet a bunch of other trans and queer experimental artists all over the States and across Europe.
So how is now this time for you, like, in a resident, for a time here, relax in your project, no? Something good, no?
It's so good.
You just cannot believe, no? That.
Yeah, I've been performing non-stop for 4 to 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's been the same project, or with Married Fatality, so doing the similar performance. It's very intense, it's very visceral, it's very raw, and it was just like non-stop for a few years, and I just got to a point where I was like, I think I need to take a pause from this project, and I really want to delve more into my instruments. I want to delve more into my movement and my craft, and slow down, because tour life is beautiful, but it's also fucking hard.
Exactly. Yeah, I know that, and I think that sometimes there is need to stop that to maybe focus in other things, in produce music or new ideas and everything. It's great. I'm very happy to have you here in Donations. And can you tell us how you came here to Spain? How was the story to be now in relation with Donation, with Musica Dispersa, and here in Bilbao now?
Yeah, of course. It's a really beautiful story. So I was living in Long Beach at the Earth Lodge Center for Transformation, which is an intergenerational Afro-Indigenous-led collective that prioritizes queer and trans people for their healing, and we use earth and natural medicine. I currently work there online, and I was doing a fellowship there, and I was applying for other artist residencies, and I was on Instagram, and there was this open call from this project called ADK, or ADK Spain, and it was like, come do an artist residency in the desert, in the mountains of Spain, and I was like, why not?
Sounds a paradise.
Sounds perfect. So then I applied, And then they accepted the application, but then they didn't cover the flight, and you had to pay for the residency. And I was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to Spain. I don't have money like this. You know?
And the flight is expensive.
This flight is expensive. It's Europe, all these things. And then I saw another grant for COVID relief for artists in Long Beach. So I applied for that and told my story about how, you know, I was like living out of my boat, I was protesting, la 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 la. And then they gave me all of the money to fly Married Fatality out to Spain and pay for the residency. So then
they cover the flight, make you available to them.
But what's really funny is that it was my first time in Europe, and I plugged in our mixer, and I didn't realize that the power is different.
Oh yes.
So I plugged in the mixer, and it exploded on the first day. Yeah. It was really bad, but thankfully.
Because it's different than
so we learned the hard way. Thankfully, I got a warranty on it, so it got replaced. But there was other sound artists there who helped me figure out the mixer. But yeah, so Ben, basically, I was in Murcia for a month with other artists. My project was the only noise project, so it was very loud. But yeah, the other artists were like sound artists, painters, sculptors, photographers, and then Married Fatality was the only noise project. And then at the end of the residency, you have a showcase where you show what you did. So then Married Fatality did their set. And then Sulu was like, I love noise. This is brutal. You know? And I got his Instagram. And then Married Fatality got invited to go back on tour in London a year later. And then I was like, oh, we should tour in Spain. I love Spain. I really loved my experience there. And as someone who's from the Philippines, and there's like a lot of history of colonization in Spain, I have been told by so many people that there are a lot of Filipino artifacts and exhibits and history that's in the museums of Spain that like we, even in the Philippines or the United States, don't have access to. So I'm really interested about exploring all those things. So I was like, I want to go to Spain. And then I messaged Salou, and I was like, Salou, I want to tour, I want Married Fatality to tour Spain. Like, where should we go? And then he was like, you need to message my friend Lucy, who lives at Convent. They're doing a residency for experimental artists. So then Married Fatality emailed them. And then Lucy was like, absolutely, I'm doing a residency in October. Come, it would be awesome.
And then she's a magical person, we can say here, like Convent is a magical place, but also Lucy.
Convent's crazy. It's this abandoned fabric textile factory in the north of Spain, like the north of Barcelona, an hour away.
In the
It's like in the mountains where nuns used to live by a river, and 50 artists live there. And they squatted it for 10 years, and now they have the rights to it, and the electricity is run by the river, and they have a farm, and so many brutal artists who are so amazing and incredible. And so then I did a residency there, and I took a bus from Barcelona to
Convent. See, probably in the same day I was doing the same, and we can say that we met also in that
I had my guitar.
I
had my guitar, went on the bus, and then we got off, and then this other person was wearing this t-shirt, was wearing this metal t-shirt, got off the bus with a big suitcase. And
that she looked like an experimental
artist. It looked like an experimental
artist.
She had black hair, short hair, this t-shirt, a metal t-shirt, and a big suitcase. And I asked the bus driver, I was like, where's Convent? And they're like, over there. And then this other person comes down, and I was like, Convent? I'm going to Convent. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then they're like, oh, sorry, I don't speak a lot of English. And I was like, oh, sorry, I don't speak a lot of Spanish. And that was better.
This is incredible.
We were on the same bus from Barcelona to Convent. And then when me and Pele met, we didn't speak the same language, but on the first day we explored all of Convent together.
Somehow you feel like a kind of connection.
There was a very deep connection.
From first second.
I was like, oh, you're doing a residency, you do experimental music, and then Pele was like, yeah, I do noise. And I was like, huh? I was like, oh, I do noise too. And then Pele was like, yeah, I take old iron and turn it into instruments. I was like, okay.
Wow,
I was like, what?
Crazy.
Yeah, we're best friends now. So then... and then Pele and I got really close in that residency and kept in contact for a year, just on like WhatsApp, just sharing music, keeping each other updated about what we've been up to. And then we were like, we have to go on tour together. And then Married Fatality got invited to play Creepy Teepee in the Czech Republic. And I was like, let's do a tour.
Okay.
And then Pele was like, I'll organize the Spain tour.
And this get us to like the project together,
Yeah,
no? Let's say,
yeah.
because they didn't exist in that way. But it's amazing
no.
how things happen in this life. Sometimes I met someone like happen like this, no?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
this environment, and then what happened after that, many
Yeah,
things.
totally. And what's
And
crazy,
the project, no?
what's crazy is that like Pele doesn't speak English, I don't speak Spanish, and we were in residency with people who spoke English and Spanish, but like
Exactly, yeah.
sometimes people were speaking in English and Pele couldn't understand, so I would get my phone out, right? I would be like, okay, one moment, and then I would like go on Google Translate and I'd be like,
to say it, yeah.
and then
to
I'd be
make
like, okay,
understand.
this is what they said,
That was-
and they'd be like,
And I
okay,
remember that thing.
yeah, and then we would just speak through purely translation, but I think we liked the same music and have the same values, you know, like anti-fascist punk excellence.
So it's like everything came in a natural way.
Yeah.
You know? Which was...
And what's crazy is that we were both all the noise artists, right? So we were all the way in the back of Convent in these warehouses where there was no ceiling, and then we were like, we were
seeing the sky, no?
yeah. And we were like, yeah, and we were in the noise barrio. So then, yeah, and then we started Ligament Amalgamate, our other project. Europe tour under Terror Lysis with Ivana Racing, Fatality, and Genoveva Ferrocide. And when that tour was ending, Pele and I were like, oh my god, we love touring together. So then she was like, how would you feel about touring in Amsterdam in like November later this year in the winter? And I was like, can I do a residency and donations project? I really want to stop Mirrored Fatality and I need a break from touring and I really want to just have an artist residency where I can like discover like different modes of practicing and sharing.
When you came here to Bilbao, already a month here or?
Yeah, I've been here for a month now.
Today is the 1st of January 2025, so in November.
Oh, it's been 2 months now, yeah. Wow. I got here on November 12th.
Oh, okay.
And then Genoveva Ferrocide and I never performed together. And we only practiced twice.
Wow.
And then we went on a whole Europe tour.
Yeah, crazy. But as we say before, sometimes things just came natural.
Yeah,
no? It's like that.
We only practiced maybe for 4 hours together. And then we went on a whole tour. Where did we go?
Sí, ¿dónde habéis estado en el tour? What cities?
Utrecht.
Okay.
Leipzig, no?
Yeah.
Berlin.
Wow.
Poland.
In Poland also, wow.
Yeah.
What?
So in total like
And Vitoria?
Yeah, but in Europe.
Well, anyway,
yeah,
also Vitoria here. So it was like 6 or 7 different in how long time? Just in a week or?
I think 2 weeks.
10
days.
10 days.
And how was the experience of the traveling, play here, travel, playing together?
Sí,
Bueno,
mucho
¿no?
Movimiento.
Mucho, ¿no?
Yeah.
Normally tour is ya está, crazy.
Un día en medio de cada actuación, más o menos.
So it's like play, next day traveling, and then the next day play again, ¿no?
Yeah. Pero bueno, un día en medio que está muy bien porque todos los días seguidos
Sí, necesitas, it needs a relax in some point in the middle.
Yeah.
And you were performing together here in Donations like 2 days ago?
Yeah. Pero luego hicimos Victoria aquí en
Victoria.
Basque Country.
Sí.
Donations.
Sí.
Que es de las, pero...
Sí, la de hace 2 días, ¿no?
Sí.
Que se hizo aquí en Donations.
Pero finalmente vamos a hacer una más en San Sebastián.
Vale,
con
interesante
Flex.
también. ¿Cuándo es eso?
24 de enero.
Okay, 24 January, we playing again together in Donations in here.
Es como diferente,
o
sea, ha sido como diferente, ¿no? Porque por Europa Tour es Disciplina.
Discipline was the name.
Que es con Mario, Pau, Anthony, Bau.
Vale. All together, that is the name of
ha
the
sido
tour.
un tour de un noise tour con otros proyectos. Y ha sido brutal.
And artistas de Valencia.
Valencia artistas, sí.
And then Vitoria is festival you promotor, ¿no?
En Vitoria organiza, Eider...
También de Donations o...
mitad Donations, a mitad Cosmic Tentacles.
Cosmic Tentacles, ok.
Y entre los dos hicimos el Sdum Amairu Fest 2.
Interesting.
En Carreor, que es un barrio ocupado de Vitoria. Antifascista, feminista, muy bien.
Perfecto.
And then Metal Fest and Donations, ¿no?
Exactly. What's kind of
Donations, lo organicé yo.
What is Donations project?
¿Qué es?
Well, sí, let's talk about donations. Say en español,
ya
si
habéis
quieres.
hablado, ¿no? De donations,
puedes decir.
Español is good.
Sí, pero un poco, ¿cuándo empezaste tú con Donations? Ya hace un largo tiempo, ¿no?
En 2016, Donations Project es en 2016 Barcelona.
Ok.
Es un proyecto que empecé con Mario Picoso, que es mi compañero de Donations en aquel momento.
Está
y vivíamos en Barcelona muchos problemas en la calle, en el Raval, que era donde vivíamos, y decidimos hacer un evento solidario. Y tal. Entonces todo lo que sacábamos todo lo que sacábamos de ahí lo comprábamos comida, ropa
For
y
the
cosas.
people.
Sí, para la peña.
Okay, so I mean the name donation is because the donation is start to do a concert of experimental music or the things of music, but then the money that they were taken in that events, they use that for the
Bueno,
people that...
los primeros donations eran solo techno.
In the beginning techno, okay.
Techno,
and this started in Barcelona with techno music.
Eso es, porque éramos DJs de techno y luego poco a poco yo fui introduciendo toda la parte experimental. Para que fuera un poco como un trueque entre pues gente que hacíamos techno, que nos apetecía hacer otro tipo de música también y no teníamos dónde exponer, pues que Donations tuviera un espacio para la música experimental y luego por la noche techno.
Okay.
Y entonces
with the time it move
era
to
como una ayuda tanto a la gente que ayudábamos como a los artistas, era algo...
Okay. So it was something like for the two scenes, like for the techno underground, also underground techno, but then also to have a space there for the experimental, the noise people to have a place to express, no? So
It's kind of like her artistic journey, because before she was techno DJ with Nictofilia, and then became Genoveva Ferrocide, more experimental.
I mean, the background of Pele is a very long one, started as DJ in the techno music scene.
Nictofilia.
Nictofilia was the name, no?
Hace muchos años, sí.
You used to play in Barcelona a lot, no?
Barcelona in different cities.
Barcelona,
Madrid, Asturias, bastante.
You in Europe too, Nictofilia in Europe, no?
Suecia, Gothenburg y más.
And now more focus in the experimental thing, but still you have there the DJ.
Yeah, but me, I'm promoter. Lo que más hago es ser promotora y no hay tiempo para DJ.
I think the promoters that they are listening now to us, they know what is the life of a promoter, and
DJ is
sometimes it's crazy to organize and play.
Yeah,
of course.
Es una vida muy dura y Pero bueno, que Donations, principal objetivo de Donations es ayudar a la gente que más lo necesita,
the main objective
con el arte.
With donation is to help the people, but through the art. Help people through art, which is a beautiful thing to do. So, if they are in
And then from Barcelona now to Bilbao.
Después del COVID, porque Donations era un evento itinerante.
Sí, like it can be one day here, one day there. Okay.
And Donations project not only music, it's exhibitions, workshops.
Exactly. We know that here is not that considered about the experimental art or the everything. It can be through music, through painting, through poetry, through everything that people want to express. No, I mean this is a space for everybody to express. And now what is the future of the project? You are expecting to do some, you will have a concert in January, but then after that maybe prepare more music or more thinking about touring. Sí, el proyecto vuestro, si pensáis un poco más ahora en enfocar en hacer música tal o en hacer más tours, si vais a seguir un poco por ahí.
You primero.
Yo.
Ni mucho.
Bueno, pues ahora tenemos la última performance, que es la de enero, ¿no?
Exacto,
y la idea es, Lau vuelve a Estados Unidos, yo me quedo en Donations y pues ir trabajando en el proyecto un poco, cada uno en distancia, ¿no?
Sí.
Pero investigando un poco, pues entiendo la web EOBIONT, yo en Genoveva Ferrocide y luego juntar el Ligament Amalgamate.
The goal is, I'm going to go back to the US. I'm going to work on Start Farm for a year and go to Asia in the winter and explore more of my Kapampangan roots and work on my solo project EOBIONT and collaborate with other artists. And then Pele has another project with Ruedera and Genoveva Ferrocide and is working donations project.
Now we were forgetting about this because it just have been released some cassettes, no? Of the project and Ruedera.
So here at Donations we did an improv with Nordiv, Ivan Garcia, who's an amazing guitarist. And we improv for how many? 5 hours, no? We improv for 5 hours, and then Roberto Pele organized this festival at Alto Sorno, which is an industrial factory for the Beasonic Festival. And there was a vinyl market with Musica Dispersa, Spunk, Psycho Skunk Records, Donations Records, and
Dotura.
And then Roberto recorded the cassette. Recorded the cassettes. Pele mixed and mastered the cassettes, and then I hand designed each cassette with a collage and images that I took. So Ligament Amalgamate has a 30 and 50 minute improv with Nordiv, and then Ruidera has an improv of 15 minutes with the sculptures that they had at the festival. And then I did my first solo EP, which is 20 minutes long, for EOBIONT. So we have those cassettes for sale at Donations Records, and then we're also going to have them on the Musica Dispersa Bandcamp. But yeah, so I'm going to be in the States for a year, and Asia and Pele will be here, and then our plan is to tour in 2026 in Europe and maybe Japan. And we want to make a studio album. So I'm going to return to Donations Project.
I think residency?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to return to Donations Project for a whole season, because I was only here from November to December. I'm only going to be from November to February, but I want to be here for one whole season, because we're a good... Me and you is super mejor equipo, ¿no?
Son un buen equipo. Son un equipazo.
Yeah. So...
Well, I want to say to the people, like, you said before, no, some of these cassettes probably gonna be also in Bandcamp.
Yeah.
No, at some point, if the people want to listen.
Sí, bueno, los cassettes.
Probably we will put at least 1 or 2 copies in Discogs of the original cassette for people. So
a ver, los cassettes son total improvisación. Es un viaje por una improvisación. No hay edit, no never improvise.
Yeah, the Ligament Amalgamate and the
HIERRO, iron.
Yeah.
Bien. So, anyway, I think we have talked about everything. For me, as Musica Dispersa, starting with this video podcast with you both is just amazing.
And then on January 17th, I'm doing my first solo performance. An exhibit here at Donations.
Presentación de residencia artística.
And for all the people that came to Spain look for Donations Project and Musica Dispersa, you will find experimental music and crazy things and everything. So from this beautiful place in Bilbao, in the first day of 2025, with this tell us that it's probably gonna be a good year.
We spent the day hiking the mountain, on the beach, looking at bunkers, and you were walking the streets, and then we have HIERRO. He's good.
So thank you so much, thank you to the people that listening to the
Noise
podcast.
Barrio para siempre.
See you soon.
Finally, you're in the interview.